Welcome back to Fox Soul's Black Report, your daily source for black news, views, and opinions. Women in the Army can soon wear nail polish, lipstick, and earrings, as well as their hair in more natural hairstyles, thanks to what the Army calls major revisions to its regulations. In addition to relaxed grooming standards, women in the Army who are breastfeeding or pumping will also have the option to wear an undershirt. There will also be no minimum hair length for female soldiers, who will now be allowed to wear multiple hairstyles at once, like braids and twists, wear their hair in a ponytail, and have natural-looking highlights. Women currently make up around 15% of the Army. The Army's new guidelines come less than 1 week after the U.S. Air Force also announced similar changes. The Army announcement has been long planned, but it came just days after the Pentagon's first black defense secretary, Lloyd Austin, took over. Austin has vowed to try to root out racism and extremism in the ranks and foster more inclusion. The changes go into effect on February 24th. Again, something that's a long time coming. I've always wondered, what does a woman's hair, her grooming, ritual have to do with how she serves her country? But that's just me. Yeah, well, I wanted to add in here that the U.S. Air Force actually just announced, so that report, like you said, came after the U.S. Air Force made a similar announcement. So starting next month, women are going to be allowed to wear their hair in longer braids and ponytails and bangs and stuff like that. So pretty much the women in the United States Air Force, they were saying that they were having hair loss because they were having their hair in a bun this entire time. And so they were, that's kind of like the reason why they were able to get this to go through. But I just wanted to say, I have a long family history of like the Air Force and military. That's one of the reasons why I probably could not be in the Air Force. Like a bun all the time just would not go with my vibe.
Just saying, it's not gonna work for you.
It just wouldn't work. Like I would have to be able to do some braids, like be able to switch it up. Like I couldn't.
Some people would say it's another way of having power, having control over a situation, and it's good to know that that's not going to be the case moving forward.
Right. Yeah.
They're weird, antiquated rules that are kind of misogynistic or racist.
I mean, I'm guessing, I don't know anything about the military. I don't have anybody that's been a part of it or anything like that. But I guess, what's the obsession with conformity? I guess it's just like, a soldier mentality of
exactly.
like we are all one type thing. But
I was reading on Twitter actually, and that's kind of like what some of the people that have been veterans and that have been in the Army and military, they were saying uniformity. They were like, we want one band, one sound. Kind of like if you think about like Drumline and everything, everyone has a white shirt. They want everyone to just be in one, they don't want you to stand out because you have pink hair and braids and things like that. They want everyone to be one band, one sound. And so that's the theory behind it.
Okay, well, it's going to be interesting.
All right, Soulmates, we have some breaking news for you. The AP is reporting Emmy and Tony Award-winning actress Cicely Tyson has died at 96 years old. Of course, Tyson was a trailblazer with more than 60 years in the business, one of our icons. I just watched an interview with her a couple days ago. Yeah. This is sad news for me.
Yeah. Yeah,
this year is starting off the way last year started off for a lot of us, unfortunately, in many ways, from the pandemic to losing people like this, and that's a hard loss.
And speaking of the pandemic, I feel like we're losing so many of our historians within our community, a lot of them because of COVID, disproportionately, but we're losing so many of the people who have the knowledge that we're hoping we never forget.
Yeah, that's true.
Brooke, are they saying, is it just natural causes, or are they saying it's COVID related?
Nothing other than the announcement of her death.
All right.
That just shook me up because I literally love her. But okay, another story here on Fox Soul's Black Report now. The Pentagon will now consider climate change when planning war games and will incorporate climate change into its future national defense strategy, according to a Wednesday announcement. There is little about what the Defense Department does to defend the American people that is not affected by climate change. It's a national security issue, and we must treat it as such, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said in a statement. The department will immediately take appropriate policy actions to prioritize climate change considerations in our activities and risk assessments to mitigate this driver of insecurity. Austin announced the change after President Biden earlier Wednesday after he signed a series of executive orders aimed at addressing the climate change. That Cicely Tyson story, oh man, it just got me all jumbled up now. This is actually very different compared to Trump earlier last year. He actually said that climate change was a hoax. Okay, they were saying that the Pentagon officials literally had to tiptoe around Trump and get him to like take this to be a serious matter. Like, and you have Joe Biden, who's been in office for a week, and he's already taking it serious. So one thing I wanted to read, Joe Biden, he says that he pledges to put environmental justice at the center of all we do and help mitigate the disproportionate effects of climate change. He says on Black and brown communities in the U.S. And so, you know, it's one of those things that we don't think affect our community, but I'm happy that Joe Biden is putting the spotlight on it and, you know, making some action happen in his first week.
Well,
I love it.
Trump was also the same guy who looked directly into, you know, a solar eclipse. So,
Right.
you know, him saying that climate change is a hoax, kind of falling on deaf ears over here.
Pretty much. I mean, for the past decade, it's been the hottest ever. And, you know, growing up, people say, oh, there are signs that the world is changing, things are getting bad. Yes, it is. And we need this to happen right now, because you think about my son, right, and then his family down the road. You think about years and decades down. If we don't get a hold of this now, it's going to be a big problem. Think about the extreme weathers that we're having all over the world right now.
Ice caps are melting. The Pacific Ocean is a garbage dump. I mean, you know, Florida is going to just basically be underwater in about 10, 15 years.
Sea is definitely rising, 1.6 inches.
It's easy for someone like Donald Trump to say, forget the science here. He's not going to see the effects of this to the devastating levels that your son could if we don't start doing something now. This is their Earth that we're trying to fix.
Well, Joe Biden, the other thing that he's saying is that he's trying to make it known that this is man-made, right? So a couple of things that he's doing to fix this problem. He's pausing and reviewing all oil and gas drilling on federal land. He's also eliminating fossil fuel subsidies. Also, he's transforming all of the government's fleet of cars and trucks into electric vehicles. So those are some of the steps that he's taking to, you know, get in front of it and climate change.
Well, Coalition of State and National Black Veterans Organizations penned an open letter to the Biden-Harris administration on Wednesday asking to diversify senior leadership roles within the Department of Veterans Affairs, according to Politico. The Black Veterans Empowerment Council, a newly formed association of black ex-military groups, wrote that black veterans should be front of mind for the VA's undersecretaries of Health and Benefits, citing both the history of neglect black veterans have faced, as well as the disparate impact of the pandemic and economic downturn on black communities. The group said these appointments will be particularly impactful for the nation's more than 2.5 million black veterans. The push to install black leaders at the VA comes on the heels of Biden's first series of executive orders advancing racial equity. And when you think about this, the bottom line is there's no one there that's looking out for us.
Absolutely.
And this has been going on for over a century. Let's take it back to 1917. Senator James Vanderman said, once a black soldier sees himself as an American hero, it will be a disaster for us. So let's make sure we keep them down. So basically, we can fight for this country, die for this country, but we can't rely on this country. And that's a problem.
Well, so again, sorry, I have a veteran family, right? So like I checked in with everyone to see what they thought, my mom, my dad, my grandfather, aunts, aunties. And so the biggest thing that everyone feels, because they all are veterans and they all go to the VA. And, you know, my grandfather, like I told you, he got his vaccination shot from the VA in Chicago. So one of the biggest issues that they are saying is that Dennis McDonough, so he was one of Biden's picks for the VA. And so everyone is saying that he's not a veteran. So how are you going to fight for veterans? You know what I mean? And so I do want to say that Dennis, he said this. He says, even though I am not a veteran, he says, I can unstick problems inside agencies and across agencies, especially at an agency as large as the VA. So for all of the people, veterans out there, it is Biden's pick. He's not a veteran, but he is said he's going to try to do the best that he can, okay?
That's great.
All right, so let's take a look at some of our YouTube soulmates. Now, of course, everyone in our chat, Brooke with the breaking news there, she's always giving us something that we didn't know. I love it. So everyone, of course, is in the chat talking about Cicely Tyson and more of those, but a couple more that I want to read. One of our soulmates says, the police are going to keep doing what they do because there are no consequences. One more here. And someone was earlier talking about our interview with Sue Anderson Robinson. And our soulmate says that she's making me rethink the juror process. She says, after 54 years of life, I've never actually served. I've been summoned, but I've never been selected to serve. So look at the Black Report getting you into the game there. Okay, there one more says, a great interview. And Demi, thanks for that update. I'm assuming that was about Joe Biden and Jacob Blake. Melissa, let us know.